Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ethel Crosby, and I'm the Director of Strategic Programs on the Global Alliances team here at TEKsystems Global Services, and lead our strategic collaboration agreement with AWS. I'm your host for today's webinar, What It Takes for Advanced Analytics to Impact Your Business. Before we dive into the presentation, let's go over a few housekeeping items. We want this to be interactive, so we encourage participants to submit questions and comments via the chat window. We'll save time at the end of the presentation to answer as many questions as we can, or we'll follow up with you directly after the presentation. There will be an interactive poll later in the webinar for you to participate in, and we do want to let you know that this presentation will be recorded and an on-demand version of this webinar will be emailed out to all registered participants after the webinar. If you aren't already familiar with our company, TEKsystems Global Services is a customer-centric global business and technology services company. We are an AWS Premier Tier services partner and help our customers achieve their business transformation and cloud modernization goals through AWS solutions. We're a team of 80,000 strong, working with over 6,000 customers, including 80% of the Fortune 500 across North America, Europe, and Asia, who partner with us for our scale, full stack capabilities, and speed. Regardless of where you are in your AWS journey, we bring real-world expertise and practical innovation to help you accelerate your digital transformation. As GenAI gains traction in the marketplace, many of our customers are eager to understand how they can develop capabilities that help differentiate them from their competition. We've partnered with AWS to offer you a multi-part webinar series sharing best practices on accelerating business growth through advanced analytics and GenAI. The first two webinars talked about the importance of setting a strong foundation with a data strategy and how a robust data platform empowers innovation. Today, we will continue the data journey for the last part of the webinar series, talking about what it takes to go beyond implementation to optimize your results. We're delighted to introduce our two data experts today. Our first speaker and my colleague, Srini Swaminatha, currently works at TEKsystems Global Services as the Managing Director of AWS Platform Services, covering AWS and GenAI initiatives. Srini has over 20 years of experience in advanced data and analytics. He's a thought leader in the data industry and spoke at last year's AWS reInvent conference. Our second speaker is Amit Singh, who is the global use case leader within the AWS Generative AI Partner Acceleration team. Amit is responsible for developing generative AI use case and industry packages, driving partner adoption of those packages, and helping partners develop solutions and offerings using generative AI services from AWS. Amit has worked in the AI, ML, and data space for over 10 years and speaks at customer and partner events on AI, ML adoption. Thank you both, Srini and Amit, for joining us today. We'll start the presentation with a recap on key concepts from our first two webinars of the Data Journey GenAI series. Srini, can you get us started by covering some of the key concepts for the past two webinars?
Sure, Ethel. Glad to be back again. In the first two webinars, we focused on how we can create a modern data platform and a data journey to convert your data into an asset. Everybody now realizes the importance of having strong data platform so that you can take full advantage of the capabilities and leapfrog your competition because you have specific data sets that are individual, tailored to your business and have tons of potential hidden within them. We covered the data journey in the form of first emphasizing on having a clear data strategy such that you are able to digitize your business processes through use cases, workshops, and having a clear strategy on the business problems that you are facing that require solutions through data and associated AI ML models. We also emphasized on creating that strong data foundations through the modern data platform, wherein you are talking about having a clear operating model, clear data governance charter, and determining the right migration path for your business. Along the way, we also emphasized on how you can change the culture and the mindset of your organization so that the questions of how you can utilize this data to leapfrog as well as to make use of your end user experience highly enriching. It all relies on the right data strategy, and the modern data platform. In today's webinar, we will go further right into this spectrum to convert how you can utilize this data into a shared services model, create a mesh framework so you can enrich the data by owning certain domain experts and making sure they are responsible for what's being presented to the consumers. And finally, ending this webinar with how you can convert the data as an asset and bring the true generative AI machine learning use cases to bear such that you can have a strong data platform end to end built that will propel your business forward. We also talked about how you can utilize this entire framework staying within AWS purpose built services that connects different data sources such as your IoT devices, structured data in tables, relational databases, application logs, third party data, and how you can present this to different people, different applications and devices from a consumption standpoint. We focus on that middle box on how we can use specific AWS services along the way so that you can actually create the modern data platform utilizing purpose built AWS services, which all are now being enhanced to include AI ML models embedded within them. We also looked an amazing demo in the last webinar on how AWS QuickSight has already adopted its generative BI capabilities. So you can use that foundation model powered capabilities to create data stories with natural language. So you are able to understand not only why a particular key performance metric is going down, but what can you do about it in a prescriptive manner. We also looked into how you can easily fine tune, author different visualizations into your existing dashboards. So now your user experience becomes 10 times richer with these generative BI capabilities, which is coming from AWS stack.
Thanks for the recap, Srini. Now let's move the discussion forward in the data journey and talk more about generative AI. Amit, can you share more about generative AI innovation from AWS's perspective?
Absolutely. Thanks, Atal, and thanks, Srini, for setting the context. Sorry, everyone, I'm going off video because of bandwidth issues. Really apologize. I think this is so. I'll be on audio, but hopefully you can hear me clearly, and this works out smoothly. I'm traveling, so I'm kind of dialing in from India, and I kind of just found out that I'm having some bandwidth issues. So with that, let's get into the generative AI and what AWS story is. Before we talk about generative AI on AWS, I want to kind of set the context with regards to the overall AWS AI/ML stack. And the way we talk about the AWS AI/ML stack is through three lenses. One is the infrastructure layer, which is at the bottom of this stack, if you see, which is where we are focusing on algorithms infrastructure. Here we have most of the top frameworks already available on AWS platform. We also have partnerships with the likes of NVIDIA and Intel, and we also have invested in our first party custom silicon. So AWS Inferentia and AWS Trainium chips for inferencing and training purposes, respectively. The second layer is Amazon SageMaker, which is one of the most comprehensive end-to-end machine learning platform, which offers the machine learning capabilities starting all the way from data wrangling and data preparation to training, building, and deploying the models, as well as further on to monitor these models in production, along with a lot of responsible AI features built into it. We also have data labeling services and ground truth, and then some low code and no code machine learning services as well. One key service that we'll be focusing on today is Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart. So we'll take a look at what that service is in a little bit more detail. At the top layer are the AI services. So within the AI services, we have three different categories. So number one are the core AI services, which many of you who have been using AWS AI/ML stack may already be familiar with. And these are services like Amazon Translate, Amazon Comprehend, Transcribe, Poly, and the list goes on. We also have some of the AI services that are specific to a given use case, like Amazon Personalize for personalization, Amazon Forecast. We also have industry-focused services like Amazon Monitron for manufacturing and supply chain, then Amazon Health Lake and AWS Health Scribe, particularly for healthcare and life sciences. And then we also have generative AI specific services, Amazon Bedrock, and some of the first party foundation models, which are Amazon Titan. So we'll take a look at these in more detail. And before I move on to the next slide, just to kind of quickly lay the frame here, the infrastructure layer, as you see here, is kind of more applicable for model providers. And then the middle layer is where it's more targeted towards ML builders, personas like data scientists. And we call that cohort of customers as tuners or model tuners. The top layer is more relevant for customers who are looking to consume these API services directly with little to no customization. So that's for ML consumers. And with that, let's maybe move on to the next slide, Atham. All right, Amazon Bedrock is our key generative AI service, and this is a service that recently went GA towards the end of September. This was announced as private preview way back in April, so pretty quick time frame to get the service onto the market, and we are seeing some great response to the customer. The service has been designed with some of the key features and updates based on the feedback from customers, some of which we'll kind of quickly take a look at. So number one is this can be used as an API, and it works in a serverless fashion. So really you can point to any of these foundation models that are available through Amazon Bedrock. Currently, it is one of the most comprehensive in terms of the type of foundation models that are currently available here. So we have foundation models from Amazon AI21 Labs, Anthropic, Cohere, and Stability AI already available on the service. And then we also have Llama 2 models available coming up from Meta. The best thing about the service is that not only it is so easy to kind of get started, but customers can privately customize these foundation models using their own data, right? Which is something that many of our customers are looking to do. This feature is currently available for Amazon Titan, but we'll be making that service feature available for other foundation models on the service as well. The other key consideration here in designing the service is the emphasis placed on security and privacy. So customer data is not used to improve any of the foundation models for other customers and is not shared with other foundation model providers. Customer data, which is prompts, responses, as well as fine-tuned models, they're all isolated per customer and remain in the region where they were created. And customer data is always encrypted at transit and at rest. And Bedrock has integration with AWS Identity and Access Management to manage inference access. So these are kind of some of the key features that we have placed a lot of emphasis in designing the service. Let's take a look at Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart. All right, Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart, which is one of the services available as part of the Amazon SageMaker suite of services, which is a combination of 35 to 40 different services, it acts as a machine learning hub and has hundreds of built-in algorithms and pre-trained foundation models. There are more than a dozen foundation models available there. And the way we kind of have placed the foundation models there are primarily into two categories. One are the proprietary foundation models. So some of the foundation models that you saw within Amazon Bedrock, they're also available on Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart, as well as some open source models like Llama 2 from Meta, as well as Falcon. We have a strong partnership with Hugging Face. So many of the foundation models available on Hugging Face are also available to our customers through Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart. The service also provides pre-built training and inferencing scripts And these can be customized and can be used to really, I mean, as the name suggests, to jumpstart your engagement with generative AI and adoption of generative AI services. Also, this can be used, the foundation models available here can be used either as an UI, if you're looking to get more of a playground experience, or they can also be used in API format.
Thanks, Amit, for walking through that. It's great to see a broad and deep set of machine learning capabilities from AWS. Srini, can you share your perspective from the TEKsystems Global Services side and some key areas of interest we're noticing for our customers?
Sure, Ethel. As Amit pointed out, AWS is trying to simplify adoption of AI machine learning projects by providing these jump starts as well as building purpose-built services. In our customer interactions, we are seeing increasingly customers are looking for specific business problems, such as how can I identify a fraudulent claim? How can I make sure I protect my customers and not let them churn out of my business? And then see how machine learning models can actually help answer these questions. And I will be talking some of this in future slides as well, wherein it's important for us to approach customer conversation not just with data alone as the starting point, but rather a business problem as a starting point. And that's what we are currently navigating through our customers to understand what's your business problem which you would like to solve, that we can prepare the data appropriately, use some of AWS quick starts, jump starts like what Amit was pointing to, and be able to quickly navigate to solve a business problem. It's exciting times, but at the same time it's important to solve a business problem rather than just dumping all the data and hoping we will find the needle in the haystack.
Thanks, Srini and Amit. Now that we have a good baseline on generative AI innovation, let's dive a bit deeper. Amit, can you first walk through what an ideal use case can look like using generative AI and work backwards from there, talking about key factors in decision making around Gen AI?
Absolutely. And so what we'll do is take a look at this demo, which is one of the more common applications of generative AI that we are seeing when it comes to early adoption from our customers. And this is in the contact center space. So here really we'll take a look at how the generative AI technology is being used to drive agent assistance. And this really happens almost in real time. And the agent is provided with the right recommendations in terms of how to handle customer conversation, depending on where the customer conversation is, as well as it provides the right recommendations in terms of the products and services to suggest to the customer. So let's take a look at the video.
Agent Assist automatically generates suggestions to help agents resolve customer calls faster. Thanks for calling off Tech Insurance. My name is Alex, whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? Thanks, Alex. My name is Carla, and I'd like to pay my bill. Absolutely, Carla. We can process your payment over the phone. I see that your car insurance balance is $75.34. How much do you want to pay? There's a $50 minimum. I'll pay $50. Great. Would you like to use the card that you have saved on file? If yes, can you please confirm the last 4 digits of your card number? Yes, it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me enter that payment for you now. To help answer customer questions, Agent Assist draws on a library of FAQs, trusted knowledge sources, and unstructured documents to generate the best responses for your agents. I've just bought my first home. Do you guys offer home insurance? Congratulations, that must be so exciting. Yes, we offer home insurance policies that provide customized coverage tailored to your specific needs and risks. I'm interested in that. Can you describe it in more detail, please? Sure thing, just 1 second. We offer many types of homeowners insurance focused on dwelling coverage, contents coverage, and personal liability. Optional coverage includes flood, earthquake, and more. Agents can also interact directly with the Agent Assistant bot to find answers for the ongoing customer call. Once the call is complete, supervisors can drill into the details of specific calls or agents. From call sentiment to speaker time to volume and interruptions, Agent Assist also generates call summaries that let supervisors review call outcomes, delivering actionable business insights.
That was a great demo. Amit, do you want to continue?
Yeah, so as you saw in the video, even though this is a pre-recorded demo, the numbers can be changed, right? And in this scenario, the numbers that were being, or the data that was being suggested to the agent will, of course, change depending on what the customer context and scenario is. So a lot of that will depend on of course, the specific scenario, as well as the kind of data and sources the service and the foundation models are then connected to provide the assistance to the agent. So this is a cool demo. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's move on to the next one, Ethel.
There you go.
So as customers think about generative AI and like when they're thinking about generative AI adoption, there are a few factors that they are evaluating, particularly from like really thinking about generative AI as a whole. These are the 5 key considerations when customers are really evaluating generative AI and how they can apply that to their own specific scenarios. So starting with cost, we have the cost of the model, which can be driven by the type of model that you're using, whether it is open source or proprietary, the size of the model, and the instance that you are using, depending on for inferencing or for training purposes. And there are different pricing options here available. We have on-demand pricing, and then we have through provision throughput, which offer a lot more flexibility and choice to the customer when it comes to the cost consideration. I would highly encourage customers to really think about cost as one of the key considerations when they're thinking about designing the generative AI applications, and they can consider all of these different factors as part of that. The second key factor is accuracy. So we have, I think this is probably one of the most common questions from our customers, what foundation model to pick? And the answer is there is no one model that fits all the different use cases. So a lot of that decision will depend on what specific use case that you're trying to solve for. And there are a few third-party benchmarks like holistic evaluation of large language models, Helm benchmarks from Stanford, which evaluates the foundation models on a number of key parameters and for different use cases as well. So you can take a look at that. It evaluates like foundation models from a lot of different providers and is pretty kind of trustworthy source. You can also use the Hugging Face leadership dashboard. So you can take a look at that as a leaderboard, sort of what are the different foundation models that are available on Hugging Face, and then how they compare across different use cases and parameters for the evaluation. The third key consideration is speed and latency. So here, really, what you're looking for is, again, a lot of that depends on the use case, whether it is real-time output that you're looking for, or if you need to batch the kind of the inferencing to happen in batches, or if it is in bursts. So depending on, again, and then the latency requirements that your application desires, you may want to kind of look at different options available, whether it is foundation models as well as kind of using some of the custom silicon as needed. The fourth key consideration is ease of use. A lot of this depends on the type of end user that you're targeting. For example, if you're targeting consumers, you may want to keep it simple, and maybe you want to provide them sort of a playground format. And if you're targeting enterprise users, maybe you want to kind of integrate the service into the business applications that they already use. So think about ease of use. And finally, this is not probably one of the most important considerations, data security. This is really top of the mind for a lot of enterprise customers, And especially as they think about generative AI adoption, they want to make sure that they are protecting their business. And I think the key recommendation that we want to offer here is really making sure that you are considering the foundation models and the claims made by the providers of these services as well as foundation models in terms of whether the data that you're providing to these foundation models through prompts, responses, as well as for fine-tuning purposes, whether any of that is going to be shared with the foundation model providers or in turn can get exposed to the customers. We want to kind of evaluate the foundation model providers as well as the service providers on that consideration, both for security as well as privacy.
Thanks, Amit. That was a cool demo, and I like how you can see how generative AI works for an insurance company, but it's also applicable to other companies that have call centers. It's a good way of showcasing how Gen AI ultimately leads to a better experience for our customers getting relevant help that they need quickly. So let's move on to the next section on elevating customer experiences through Gen AI. Srini, can you expand on how we at TEKsystems help our customers get started on determining which use cases to start with and examples of where we've done this with customers?
Sure, Ethel. As Amit was highlighting, there are several factors that needs to be considered when you are looking at implementing AI, machine learning, generative AI, specific projects, but it all starts with beginning with the end in mind. As I was highlighting few slides back, it's important to understand your specific pain points from a business perspective, because generative AI can solve some of those pain points with pretty much ease to elevate that user experience. But in some cases, generative AI also heavily relies on the data that you ultimately feed in, train the model, utilize the foundation models to encompass the overall experience, and then be utilized for solving that business problem. So in order to handle all of these complex topics, we start with a workshop to prioritize use cases, wherein we have a framework for use case prioritization, and we start with a briefing that typically lasts about 1 hour, where we are able to have a very open and transparent chat with the customer on learning as well as confirming which type of AI fits the use cases that the customer has. So this is more of, let's get to know you have a problem statement and whether AI, machine learning, generative AI can fix that problem, or is it a routine data problem that could also be transferred to a automation or some other way of fixing that problem. It's important to gain that point of view on some of the best practices, and more importantly, to understand what are anti-patterns. Just because you have data, it doesn't mean you will apply some machine learning model and then get immediate results. You need to understand some of the anti-patterns on AI machine learning projects and not treat it just like another software development life cycle. Because when you're dealing with AI ML, if your results in the initial tuning are not as per what you are expecting, there is a place where you have to start relooking at the right type of model, to what Amit was pointing, because the model accuracy and the results are significant in terms of how you proceed forward with the overall business scenario itself. We follow that briefing with a detailed 1 day workshop, wherein we are going to get into that in-depth educational experience. You all must have heard recently around some of the regulatory and compliance expectations that every business is expected to follow through when implementing AI machine learning projects. So it's a good platform for breaking down what are those AI offerings, what are the best practices, what specific anti-patterns should we be careful about when implementing a POV, and ultimately prioritize the use cases that will have the highest leverage and highest return on that investment. And that's when we can essentially create an outcome of a pilot proposal, which we believe should last between 3 to 6 sprints, because we want to get a quantifiable pre-prod environment that is equipped with machine learning insights and judge that user experience benefits, ultimately triggering the flywheel effect. If you remember, in our very first webinar, we talked about creating that flywheel effect through data products. So the machine learning initiatives propel second and third round of other machine learning ancillary initiatives that will ultimately enhance the user experience altogether. So it's important that we approach our overall advanced analytics, utilize generative AI, do the business transformation in a step-by-step manner. So we are able to fine tune at any point of time if we are not going in the right track, where we are unable to give that justification of investment, we are able to fine tune our pathway and start applying a different route. It could be a different foundation model, could be different fine tuned parameters, or it could be a different way to approach the problem itself. Towards that, we have one such use case where we wanted to ensure there are tons of paper forms, and how can we start implementing the digitizing the business process, creating a modern data platform, and start putting in generative AI all together in a roadmap for one of our customers. And we were able to put together purpose-built AWS services for ingesting these documents through series of S3 buckets and lambdas and queuing services, making them go through a human review workflow, wherein while the documents can be easily transcribed and extracted, text extracted using TEKStract, we also wanted to take this one notch higher by utilizing the comprehend for medical, so that we understand what is inside the document, particularly if it's a medical document such as the diagnosis codes. And in addition to that, we also want to see how we can put the generative AI and the human review into the picture, so that the document just doesn't flow through all the way into the final resting layer. But if there is a confidence score that is slightly concerning, such as you extracted a document field, you're not sure whether this is the right legible translation or not, you can apply a human review workflow where the augmented AI, SageMaker models, the jumpstart that Amit talked about, come and play a role. So then you have this human review approved workflow that ultimately flows into your DynamoDB and your portals for search and analysis. This is just one example where today, in today's world, if tons of documents are being processed and hand coded into a database, we can bring the purpose built AWS services, make them go through an automated ingestion layer. At the same time, if it is applicable that you need to introduce an AI, ML, human review approval workflow, so you are not relying completely on the auto translation, but rather putting a couple of human eyes into the overall workflow, you can slightly change the model. That green box that you see there brings in the human workflow approval into the picture, and then you are able to search and retrieve these documents. Again, there are tons of such examples, but we want to highlight that if you are able to start the process with the end in mind and appropriately introduce the AI ML tools at the right place, and still use all the other purpose-built AWS services across the board, you are able to solve that business problem in the high quality, well-architected manner.
Thanks, Srini. Amit, can you talk about other use cases to consider and another customer example? Amit, you might be on mute if you're trying to talk.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Thanks, Atul. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the high-level use cases that AWS is seeing based on engagements with customers. And this is, of course, backed by the analysis of early opportunities that we are seeing with AWS customers and with our partners. So really, if we take a look at the use cases as a whole, as Srini pointed out, and what we are seeing is that generative AI and the foundation models can be applied to a wide variety of use cases. Really, many of those are horizontal use cases which apply across different industries. And then there are use cases that are specific to different verticals and industries. So these are kind of the four key categories in which use cases can be bucketed. Number one is generative AI use cases that improve or enhance the customer experience. And here you can have things like chatbots and virtual assistants, one of the things that we saw in the demo, the AI-powered contact center, which is like one of the most common use cases. I think we saw that further explained in the demo. And then the second key category is the use cases that improve or boost the employee productivity. And here you can put a lot of things like summarization, or, for example, the code generation capabilities with some of the co-pilots for software engineers and developers out there that can really accelerate and boost developer productivity. For example, Amazon Code Whisperer, which is which is the offering from Amazon for as a coding companion for developers and software engineers. We have seen developers' productivity improve by up to 57% in terms of how fast they're able to complete their tasks based on a study done by AWS. You can also put in things like data to insights. For example, now through generative AI, customers can use natural language to query their databases, their data warehouses, as well as create dashboards and reports. And using natural language, customize those reports, as we saw with the Amazon QuickSight. The third key category of use cases that we are seeing are more focused around creativity and content creation. And this is particularly relevant for personas like who are in the creative space, for example, marketers out there or designers. They can use generative AI to really design hyper-personalized marketing campaigns. They can also use the writing capabilities or net new content generation, whether it is text-based content generation for designing ad campaigns, or image generation capabilities that text to image or image to image modality foundation models offer. The fourth key category of use cases that we are seeing is around improving business operations. And here you can see generative AI being applied to things like intelligent automation, document processing, which Srini kind of gave you an example of. That's a perfect example of how generative AI is improving business operations in a specific context. Cybersecurity, generative AI can be put to use to really identify the source of the cybersecurity challenges much faster, and then provide a faster detection and response to the cybersecurity professional. And then I can go on and on. Data augmentation is another example of a category where we are seeing like the service being used to really improve the business operations as a whole. Let's take a look at a customer example where AWS has actually helped a customer improve their services and how they have helped their end customers. So here we'll talk about NatWest Bank, and they have used generative AI to help their customers with financial well-being, and they have done so at a scale of more than 10 millions of their users. So really, like at a really large scale, with one of the top banks based out of UK. So NatWest Bank has used Amazon Bedrock for enhancing personalization for its tools like NatWest Digital Financial Health Check and Know Your Credit Score. And these are really consumer-facing applications, as you can see. They are doing so in a responsible and scalable way, and further enhancing the customer experience with personalized communications, financial education, and products and services that are targeted towards its retail customers.
Thanks, Amit. Lots of great insights shared by both of you today. As we wrap up the presentation, before we get into questions, let's go around to each of you to share your final thoughts with the audience, starting with Amit, and then Srini can go after.
Absolutely. So I would talk about a couple of things, particularly how fundamental data is to generative AI. So as you know, a lot of generative AI, I mean, the traditional machine learning as well as generative AI is powered by data, and that doesn't change with generative AI. Data is still key, and you want to make sure that your data is in the right place, your data strategy is absolutely in place, and you have access to the data. Your data pipelines are well structured, and they don't run into any troubles and issues. so that then you can take the data that you have within your enterprise and use the generative AI capabilities provided by the foundation models and use those to solve specific customer use cases. The other thing I would point out is that as a customer, you want to make sure that you're putting emphasis on risk, security, and compliance and privacy. So you want to make sure that your legal and compliance team is involved from the very beginning as you're looking to tackle the use cases through generative AI. The sooner you involve them, the better they will be able to understand what the technology offers, what are the things that it can actually do, what are the pitfalls of the technology, and they can get better accustomed to working with this technology and helping you pave the way for solving more and more use cases in future.
Yeah. And to add to Amit's points, I would emphasize on having a clear data strategy, conducting the machine learning and generative AI use cases through the workshop approach that we discussed can give you a good perspective on what are those business pain points that not just you but your entire industry is facing. And by engaging in a partner like us with deep domain expertise across different industries, we are able to bring in the direction in which the industry and the generative AI use cases are being pursued with good success. So you are able to take that advantage of beginning with that end in mind. But in addition to that, it's important that while we leverage all the efficient AWS purpose built services to accelerate this entire innovation, it is people who we need to put right at the center, because these generative AI initiatives are not replacing other roles or people, but rather augmenting them to perform certain routine tasks faster, better, cheaper, while emphasizing on building that subject matter expertise specific to your business, wherein you are able to put some of those deep domain expertise to good use. So we need to have a good balance between striking what we are aiming for with the end in mind, at the same time bringing the people from a culture and mindset perspective together in this modernization journey.
Thanks, Srini and Amit. There's a couple next steps to cover before we get to questions. If you're looking to partner with us on your data strategy or other AWS needs, please contact our sales team at awssales@teksystems.com. You can also go to our website at teksystems.com/AWS to learn more about our AWS capabilities. We'll now move on to questions, starting with a poll question. So in the chat window, click Vote Now to get into the poll and submit your answer. Will you be at AWS reInvent 2023 conference? Yes, no, or still deciding? reInvent is only a couple weeks away, so hope to see you there. Our company, TEKsystems Global Services, will once again be sponsoring AWS reInvent in Las Vegas, November 27th through December 1st. Come visit us at our booth at number 1020, or reach out to your account rep if you plan to attend so we can connect in person. All right, so it looks like there are a bunch of people going. Hope to see you there. And again, look out for us at our booth, 1020. All right, we have time for maybe one or two questions. The first question, how can team members prepare themselves for the next wave of innovation like Gen AI? Trini, can you go first, and then Amit can go after?
Sure, Ethel. These are exciting times, particularly if you have seen the power of the foundation models that can pretty much take the power of the entire internet and be able to respond to your specific query. However, it's also very critical times where your secret sauce as a business owner, uh, if not protected with the right guardrails, could spill into the open. That is why it's important for us to ensure the team members have the AI education along the way as to what is allowed and what is not allowed, what are those guardrails, what is that mature data governance looks like, and how can you protect your data assets by putting the right set of boundaries around it. Having said that, it should not stifle the innovation. So we need to inculcate a culture of let's ask more from the technology and not just limited with your reactive analytics, because the entire industry is now moving towards prescriptive, predictive, and explorative innovation So it's important that the culture and mindset and create that flywheel effect with incremental wins, so you can create the momentum for you to get into that next wave of innovations within your business.
Thanks, Srini. Amit, do you
Thanks,
want to
Rini. So
go ahead?
absolutely. Thanks, Rini. I would say four key things, starting with planning your investments. So make sure that as we saw, this came towards generative AI came to the forefront like towards the end of last year, and then throughout this year so far, we have seen organizations like really trying to make sense of this technology. They are exploring the different use cases, doing POCs, and they're trying to come up with the budget which was not really planned for implementing some of these use cases. So as we get into 2024, make sure that you're planning for the investments appropriately. Number two is identify the right use cases. So as we saw, the list of use cases that can now be solved or now possible or can be further accelerated by generative AI is probably endless. And you want to make sure that you identify the right use cases that your team can solve. Maybe identify a handful that you want to solve first. Those could be internal to your employees, and then you can potentially, once we have proved that out, you can decide to extend that externally. So make sure that you identify the right use cases you want to go after. Third is prepare your workforce. It's super important that you think about educating both your business users as well as technical users around generative AI, the different services that are available, what these foundation models can and cannot do. Also, this will really drive the innovation within the company. Doing something like a hackathon, which is attended by both business users and technical users, is a good way to identify what are the use cases, both internal only as well as externally open to customers that the employees can come up with, as well as what would be really relevant for your customers and for your space within the industry. The fourth thing is, as I mentioned, make sure that as you're adopting this technology, which can do wonders, you're also thinking about protecting your business. That is essential. As with any technology, I don't think there is probably a bit of nuance in adopting this technology, but at the same time, a lot of concepts that go with digital transformation still apply. For example, change management. So make sure that you have a good change management set of practices in place. You have AI governance in place, and you are also considering security, privacy, as well as responsible adoption of AI as you're thinking about generative AI adoption at your enterprise.
Thanks, Amit and Srini. Unfortunately, we're running a little bit over time. So if we didn't get to your questions, we'll respond back to you after the webinar. And if you have any other questions after this, you can reach out to us at awssales@teksystems.com. I did want to note, I did see some questions on use cases. Again, happy to walk through the use cases. We had a lot of different demos to even choose from, so plenty to show, and want to make sure it's relevant for you. So please reach back out to us. And thanks again for watching and participating in our final webinar of the Your Data Journey GenAI and Beyond webinar series. Also want to let you know that your account rep will be reaching out to you to schedule a deeper dive. And you'll also be receiving a survey about this webinar in the chat, as well as a follow-up email. We really appreciate it if you to get your feedback. So please fill out that quick survey. And I just want to give another thank you again to our great speakers, Srini and Amit. Really appreciate all the dialogue and discussion today, and hope to see you all in a few weeks at reInvent. Thank you.